The tragic shooting at an American elementary school in December 2012 shocked and horrified the country. Then, less than a year later, a similar scene started to unfold when a gunman armed with an AK-47 assault rifle and 500 rounds of ammunition entered another elementary school. But in the end, he laid down his weapon and surrendered to police, all because of one woman's courage. Her name is Antoinette Tuff, the school bookkeeper. In her book, Prepared for a Purpose, Antoinette talks about her terrifying encounter and how she believes God had been preparing her for that moment her entire life.
In your book, Prepared for a Purpose, in the opening statements, you say something that I find very interesting. You said, "What happened in that room is not about me or even about the shooter. It is about how God guides us all on our journeys and prepares us for a purpose that is not always our own to know." And I know in your life you went through a lot of hurt, a lot of rejection from your father. Your husband had an affair. You had a son that has multiple disabilities. How did you feel all of that prepared you for that day in August?
Well, I understood the gunman Michael Hill's pain. I knew what it felt like because of the pain that I had already experienced as I was a young child. And so through all that, God had prepared me for that moment, if it was nothing else but to save that young man's life and everyone else that was in the school at that day.
What were you thinking? What were you feeling in that moment?
Fear, terror, overwhelming, and Lord, what are we going to do?
And you asked God, okay, now God, what are we going to do? What did he say?
Well, you know, somebody said to me that how calm I was during the interview and everything that I said. And to be honest with you, when I went back to listen to the tape, I didn't even recognize myself. Or can I go back and tell you everything that God allowed me to do? My heart was just open to receive him, to be able to do whatever he wanted me to do that moment.
And there was an opportunity for you to actually get out because you asked if you could go to the bathroom. And he said, go. And you easily could have went, but you chose not to. Why did you choose not to run at that time?
I know as unstable as he was, if I had ran out of that door and been able to think I was going to get away, he was going to now come in with all the ammunition that he had and the magazines, because at that time, he had now started loading them up on him. So he was fully loaded in his pockets and everywhere. I know that he would actually now come and start spraying up their school with bullets, and everyone would be dead.
Months prior, Antoinette discovered her husband was having multiple affairs. This led her to the brink of suicide.
I was supposed to actually meet my ex-husband, and we were supposed to be reconciling our marriage. And I'm sitting there waiting on him, and he does not show up. And so now I'm sitting there calling him, and it was just a devastating moment for me until I wanted to kill myself. I went to church. Everybody kept saying, you know, stay here. I went to church because I knew the state of mind that I was in was so dangerous and scary for me that I needed God. And even though I can't even tell you at this point what my pastor ministered on that day, all I know is that if I got in the building, God would save my life. And so that was important for me that day, to be able to go and know that God was going to love me in spite of it all, because I didn't know how to love myself at the moment.
Because of her own pain, Antoinette was able to look at the gunman with compassion. She shared with him her own struggles of hurt and rejection and told him that she loved him. Her kind words resonated with him.
I knew that pain. I could identify with that pain. So just like I wanted someone to come beyond to see the veil and the mask that I had on to see my pain, I was able to look outside the young man dressed in all black with an AK-47 telling us all we were going to die, to be able to know that deep down inside, he needed me to rescue him.
And so how did the day end?
He now actually decides that he's going to take his life. And so I said to him, we're not doing that today. No one's going to die. We're all going home today. And so he's like, no, you don't understand. I've shot at police officers. I've shot outside. And I'm like, I understand that, but no one is hurt. We're not doing that. And so now he's sitting there, and I'm now talking to him. He's now putting his weapon, the bullets, his book bag, and everything he came into the school, feet away from me, on the counter. He now goes and laid down on the floor, prostrate before the Lord, and put his hands behind his back and wait for the police officers to come and get him.
Antoinette has been hailed a hero. She started a nonprofit organization called Kids on the Move for Success, which helps underprivileged children through education and mentorship.
What would you say to the person who feels like you used to feel, worthless, and has had rejection and disappointment in life? What would you say to that person?
I would tell that person to validate you today. Love yourself today. Learn how to put God first and allow him to know that you're worthy. And through him, you can know that. I didn't know that because I allowed my husband to do that. And now today, I love me unconditionally. And I allow God to validate me and not a human, because their validation is always for the moment and not for a lifetime.